Got a great program this morning. My good friend and yours, Sue Dick, the president of the Chamber of Commerce, Greater Tallahassee Chamber of Commerce, for 19 years, she told me, since she's 18 years old, I guess. We'll talk a little bit about what's going on with the Chamber, how it relates to downtown. So we appreciate everybody that's here this morning. I don't think she needs much of an introduction. I will say the Chamber's been like one of the best things for my business over the years since I've been in Tallahassee in 2003. So I'm a big advocate of what they do and what Sue and her team do. Elizabeth Emanuel, who worked in Leadership Tallahassee, is now the new executive director for Downtown Improvement Association. She'll be working with Alan. So there's certainly some cross-pollination between the two organizations. So without any further ado, we'll let Sue talk, and then I'm sure she'll take some questions from everybody.
Great. Thank you, Dan. Sue. Thank you. Thanks. Good morning. I'm going to stand to the side if that's okay, or I'm going to come this way, so if that's okay. Wide. Yeah. Well, thanks everybody. It's great to see you. Thank you for the invitation. A lot of good friends in the audience. Dan did say I've been in my position 19 years. I didn't think I'd be there that long. But I also said my goal is not to move around and be a traveling chamber executive. So there are wonderfully talented chamber presidents across the country. And oftentimes you see they kind of move around. For instance, Clay Ingram, who used to be Pensacola chamber president, is now here running Volunteer Florida. He was a football player at FSU, so we've got some really talented chamber executives really across the state and the country. But first of all, I want to thank you for the invitation. I saw you had Sean McIntyre here last month, and Dan kind of gave me the rundown on your upcoming speakers. I think Will Butler is next. Will Butler actually hired me at the Chamber of Commerce along with Bill Smith because I was wearing two hats at the time. So I'm not going to touch too much on downtown developments because you're going to get the experts in the room, but I'm going to try and move through several different topics for you and then make sure I leave some time to answer some questions and maybe get some feedback. I think what organizations like this do are so important, and I think for everyone that's a member, I thank you for being a member of the Downtown Business Merchants Association. It's really important, and as a chamber, we're here to help in any way and promote you in any way, so just let us know how we can help. We too are a membership-based organization, so it's kind of, I want to use this also for some clarification points. People sometimes think they know about the Chamber of Commerce structure, and I think sometimes if we can really clarify, it may make it clear why we take certain positions or why we're actively doing things. So we do not get government funding. We're a 501c6 as well. We're membership based, and we have a board of directors of 44 board members and been in existence over 95 years. Thinking back, so I've been working downtown for 29 years at 3 different locations. I was just kind of going through my mind. I was at Hospitality Square, the Collins Building, and now we own our building on 300 East Park Avenue. So I was kind of going through the Rolodex of Susan Stratton Care Packages, Bill Garvin, Insty Prince, Fred at Uptown. I mean, it's just amazing, all the businesses downtown, Black Cat News. It's just really, Bagel. It's really been amazing to watch the downtown, and downtown is where we are. We own our building, and as a chamber, we're committed to being downtown, and we think it's really important, and we have obviously strong opinions on what we'd love to continue to see in the downtown area. So I just kind of wanted to kind of set the stage that way and just say we're downtown as well, and it's important. If I can, from the Chamber of Commerce, I said we're governed by a board of directors, and 2 years ago, we changed our strategic planning process. It's pretty extensive. And so every day, we really focus in 3 primary areas. One is supporting existing industry and trying to grow existing industry, because that's the job side of what we want to do. Number 2 is being an advocate, and so you'll see us taking positions on local government issues. I don't spend much time up at the Capitol. I'm not a lobbyist. When the Florida Chamber takes strong positions, Mark Wilson is a friend, and I think what they try and do on issues with regards to business community is very, very important. We will weigh in when we can on statewide issues and things that affect our community. But there's enough on the local side to keep us busy. And on a very limited staff, that's where we try and harness all of our energy. But we do this by committees. And so let me take a half a step back. Our Grow Business Committee is chaired by Sammy Dixon, and our Business Advocacy Committee is chaired by Jay Smith. And then our third focused area is driving members to our driving value to our members, and that's chaired by Bennett Napier. So we really try to focus every single day on what we're doing in those areas. We have taken positions on key issues, and I'm going to kind of touch on a few items that we're working on moving forward. Again, you all are fully aware of some of the development projects that are taking place, whether it's Sean McIntyre's development that's taking place at Cascades. We actually took a position on Cascades Park development in support of, because there was a moment about a year ago where there was public land that was going to be put on the market, and local government was trying to come up with a partnership to develop it, and our position was anytime public land gets put back out in the market, private sector should have the first opportunity to develop it. And so we weighed in pretty heavy on that, and that was important, but that was just a position that we took based on our 6 guiding principles that you can see on our website as to why we take positions. So it's all, and it typically all leans towards economic development, job creation, retaining talent, not creating taxes or fees for businesses. So you'll see everything is pretty methodical, and we try and keep it very simple as to what our mission is, which is basically to be the catalyst for business growth. And so, as with regards to Sean's project, that's a critical project. A recent position that we took has to do with the governance structure out at the airport. I look at my friend Barney Bishop, who chaired the Airport Advisory Council probably 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. That is an example of something that we are currently working on, and really asking our local governments, and took a strong position to say to look at the structure of the airport. We would like to suggest that there may be another governing structure like an authority that would help us generate more out at the airport in land development and economic development. There's actually another meeting this morning about that discussion. It's obviously been a little challenging with our local government transition at the city, and so we're encouraged now with new electeds in place, but trying to work with each and every one of them to encourage how we can assist. But we had brought this forward during the last commission, and with the transition that was occurring, there really wasn't a sense that there was a desire to keep pushing on it, so it was held. And now what we've asked is for a study to be done on the best governance structure out at the airport, and to bring it back before the commission for discussion. And so there's a workshop on April 10th regarding the airport, and we're hopeful that this discussion is going to come forward, and that's very important. I'm not going to get in the weeds on that. If you all want to ask any questions on that, we can obviously talk about that. But we continue to hear that talent used to be the #1 question from businesses as to what they need to grow, and I know we were talking about this morning, trying to hire people, but we also continue to hear just being able to get in and out of Tallahassee it continues to be a challenge on business development and just moving clients in and out, just the cost of doing that. And so we want to continue to have that as a priority. I put on your seats one of our quarterly pieces that we push out to discuss our focus on Grow Business. This is something that we produce, and we put it out to highlight existing industry. And it's a summary of many fronts. So for instance, on the left column, you'll see an update from Office of Economic Vitality. I know Christina Paredes is going to speak to you in the near future. She's doing a great job trying to promote economic development. But there is one downtown project that's highlighted. It's the Capitol Complex Museum, which is, in talking to Jay Smith, it turned out from being a garage correction project to now being what I think will be a statewide attraction for people to come to the downtown area and to see the memorial in and around the Capitol, which is very exciting. And I think it'll be a wonderful attraction for our community. And I think those are the kind of things that we need to see and continue to see in Florida's state capital, and the 3rd largest state in the country. So I encourage you to just take a look at that. That comes out. We highlighted some of our other businesses, and also want to put some data and statistics in there for you. Looking forward a little bit, I want to maybe highlight a couple things for you. You're going to see on Monday, March 4th, it's actually the birthday of our community. And so what we've tried to do is to get our community to understand that we need to have a strategic plan for our community as far as what we're trying to become and what we're trying to move forward to. So in 2024, our community will turn 200 years of age. That's a big deal. That is something that we can be planning now 5 years out to say using that as a statement of recognition, and not only what we're doing between now and that date, but what we can point on the map that we want to say we want to be moving forward. You're going to see from the Chamber of Commerce, we've been pushing this out. I credit Jay Rebel on that, who's on our team now, on really highlighting that. It is about celebrating your community, but most importantly, when you have those monumental dates, you can kind of get everybody focused towards what's that going to mean. And what we're trying to do is get all parties within the community to realize that it is a big deal, and we should be aspirational. And it's a great place to stick a flag in the ground and say by 2024 we want to be this within our community. So you're going to see a press release come out on Monday from the Chamber, and it's going to be TLH 200. And it's going to start that drumbeat of getting the community to realize, and it's all about everyone can have their own aspirations to it, but as a community, we as a community need to be driving towards what that means. You'll hopefully see from the Chamber we're methodical and led by our board of directors. That's what's so wonderful about working with business people. They keep you focused. You've probably seen when we're going to Greenville. We go to a community every other year, and so we're going to Greenville, South Carolina. We've been really researching for the last year where to go next on our trip. We went to Nashville 2 years ago. We're going to Greenville because it's amazing how this works. You do all the research, and then all of a sudden the justification keeps rolling in, because it's nice to see the confirmation that we've made a good selection, because not only are we hearing it from other chambers that, wow, you all gone, and we went, which we didn't realize some other chambers have gone, but we hear a lot of people here that have business in Greenville or have family that are in Greenville, and it's just this great connection. And so we're going to go with the emphasis of looking at their downtown, looking at what they've done successfully downtown to make it a sense of place. We're going to look at the university and what's going on with the research. So we're actually not going to go to the BMW plant. And the reason we're not going is because we really are, we try very, very hard not to create distractions on what we're doing. Unfortunately, sometimes people don't fully understand what we do, so they make these assumptions. And so we're not going to go there to look at the BMW plant, mainly because that would take several hours of a very compressed trip. We're going to April 1st to 3rd. But we are going to go and see some of the research that's done. And so Clemson University has a research facility called ICAR, which is the equivalent to what the Magnetics Task Force Committee is going to do here with the Magnetic Lab. And you'll hear about that from Christina. We're also going to go to the airport. The airport is an authority. The airport really is between Spartanburg and Greenville, which I did not realize. It sits right between two counties. But we're going to go look and see what they've done in that area. We're also going to go look at their tourism side, their minor league baseball stadium, and talk on the arts and what they've done successfully. So it is a jam-packed trip. But it is something that we think it's important to go to keep the momentum going on some of the important efforts and initiatives that we're striving for. And then again, we have our conference, which is in August, which again rolls everything in and trying to promote and get everybody focused on what our goals are for the community. The one thing that we took away from Nashville that we realized that we don't really have within our community is that the brand that everybody can kind of get behind and build off of. I think, and I'm not being critical. It was just one of those things. When you go to a place like Nashville, or when we actually in Greenville, they've kind of gotten behind a slogan or a brand. And it doesn't mean that you cannot create your own element within it, but it really brings the community together so that when we take these trips, it's pretty evident when we walk into those communities that everybody's singing from the same hymnal. They're all on the same page. And in Tallahassee, we have a lot of wonderful things going on. In my many years, I've never seen so much momentum in projects and development. And I have my own personal opinion of why that's happening, but I think it's remarkable. I think the infrastructure, the dollars that we worked very hard in Blueprint, and this community decided to tax itself, really allowed a lot of projects to be done like at Gain Street, but then you have people like the boosters and North American Properties that come in and make the investment, and then that's what you've seen in Cascades Park, and I think you're going to continue to see that. But you've got to build that momentum in the community that you're open for business, and it's easy to do business here, and growth. It's okay for growth to occur because it's how jobs occur. It's how jobs will be sustained. So we're going to push again and not only get kind of the rallying cry around this 2024, but really say this is our opportunity to really get everybody focused in on working together as a community and really messaging out what our community can provide and how important it is to really be behind each other and promoting all the things that are going on wonderfully in our community. So that's exciting, and so you will see in August at the conference, we'll touch on that again. And then our fiscal year runs October, so that's usually when you start seeing a lot of our annual meeting coming up, and then we move right back into it. So kind of a summary of several bucket areas that we're working on. I'm going to pause and see if there's any questions or any feedback, and then I've got a couple of things I might highlight. Dan.
So you mentioned Airport Authority.
Mm-hmm.
How does that differ? How would that differ from the current structure, that would be tangible to, the population?
So the structure, right now, the airport is a department of the city of Tallahassee. An authority is a governing body that maybe not so much has the policy because the land is, the city owns the airport. So you've got the dynamics of the dirt is owned by the city of Tallahassee and the buildings are. But it creates an opportunity to really move forward and move quicker with making decisions. Your board, Barney was a wonderful airport advisory board member. I'm still on that airport advisory, but we're not experts in land development and economic development. I mean, some of us are, we work in that space. But it really makes a focused effort of understanding how are we going to, as a body, focus on developing that land and the airspace and the air service as a regional economic development asset. And there's other models that exist out there. So, for instance, in Greenville, since it is two different counties, the legislature identifies the representatives. There's 6 members on the airport authority. The airport director reports to the airport authority, and then they are able to create their own construct at the airport. So they have their own police department within the airport, they have their own fire department within the airport. So it's also a different way of leveraging the assets out of the airport. And it really probably moves quicker on making decisions because there's not as many layers. So we've made some modifications. We've said, even if it's not an authority structure, looking at the current structure, I've worked with 9 different airport directors in 19 years. And it's a great market. Our last airport director we lost, Chris Curry, left to go to another market that was a little bit bigger that had candidly the ability to do a different pay structure. So the ability to retain and grow the staffing is important as well, but it's an economic development model. There's 900 acres that can be developed out of the airport. 140 of them right now, the solar farm was put on them, but there's a balance of 700. Capitol Circle Southwest is about to get widened. Well, it is scheduled to be widened, Blueprint 2000, but that's probably 5-7 years out. The authority looks at all of that and creates a whole plan for economic development. What is the best use for the land? And then, for instance, you have Florida State Southwest Campus, the Gateway Project that was approved and it's going to be launched. So it's a holistic approach to leveraging that as an asset for economic development. And then depending on how you structure it, it's just that's the focus of it, day in and day out. Any questions? Lena.
So you mentioned about retaining talent in Tallahassee. Where does the chamber stand in terms of increasing the minimum wage? Or has the chamber made a stance on that?
Yeah, we have not taken a position on it. And I don't, that's one of those that if it comes before the board, it'll be interesting, because as you can imagine, we've got different types of levels of board members, from hourly employers. I know that was raised by one of our city commissioners recently, but I haven't seen it come up, so we've not taken a position on it. On the talent side, on the retaining of talent, I think we've taken, we launched an initiative 2 years ago called Talent Lives Here. And if you receive our e-news, we have tried very hard to go out and promote the talent that has chosen to stay here and why they've chosen to stay here. Access Tallahassee was a program that we started 7 years ago. We have 400 members in that program. And its focus is, it's almost like a mini chamber within our organization. The membership, it's $50 to be a member, and its ages 26 up to 40. And we have an entire program of work for that market, because it's about making contacts with each other, meeting employers where they can find jobs, and really creating a network for the young professionals, because they're in between I'm just still in college, and then they're candidly like this room. I mean, there needs to be a place for the young professionals to really fall and find a network and find things that will appeal to them to stay in Tallahassee. We launched another program called Tally Job Hop, where we work with the university. And we go into the universities in certain areas, whether it's in marketing or finance. We do 2 a year, where we actually go on the campuses of Florida State and Florida A&M University, get students that are interested, for instance, in being in finance or CPA, and we pull them off the campus, we put them in a van, and we take them to 3 or 4 different businesses or companies in our community, that they can actually walk into those businesses, and they typically say, I didn't even know this existed. I did not know that this company was here, mainly because a lot of students have never been north of a certain midtown area. And it's a way of trying to introduce them, and there's been several internships that have started as a result of that, and actually some individuals that have been hired as a result of that. But part of it is convincing the students to why they should stay here, because obviously a lot of them feel like, well, I'll go to school and then I'm going to go back to a larger city. But our objective is to say, no, we need you to stay here, and we've got great employers that we want you to stay here for. So stay tuned on the minimum wage. I'm not sure if we will or not.
I really admire the Chamber for all the great things you're doing to promote. The biggest blemish that this community has had in the last year or so is the announcements by the president and the governor about Tallahassee, being a high crime rate, high poverty rate, economic inequity. What's the Chamber kind of doing to try to counter that? Because I think some of us using statistics wrong. But what's the Chamber doing?
So I agree with you 100%. That's been a real challenge. Thankfully, it's died down a little bit, but it was really bad. And we to say that we didn't think about it every day and talk about it every day. I mean, we saw it for what it was, and it was terrible publicity for our community. What we've tried to do is we've tried directly to push out more positive stories. We actually worked with a couple of our local PR agencies and created some stories that were not combating that, because you can't combat that. But we pushed out other stories that talked about the development, a new college experience or college town. We tried to highlight things that we knew we could compete with nationally that nobody else could have. Really teasing out the best of type stories. Unfortunately, those don't get traction as much as you would like, and we're really honest with ourselves about that. I mean, I think while our role is to be the marketer and the face and the cheerleader for the community, I think to do that you have to be really honest with yourself when you're kind of inside being strategic and say, no, we have an issue. I mean, for us to be on the front page of USA Today in every single hotel room, that's sad. That does affect you. And I remember where I was in Canada when I saw that, and it was just, it's a reality. And so as a community, we have to say, okay, that's behind us. we are more than that, and we have to really go out and really promote all of the good things. So examples of that would be, for instance, this 2024 proclamation of, we're a great community, that we're going to celebrate our bicentennial, and these are all the things that are happening in our community that put us over and above every other community. Whether it's our universities, both of our universities, whether it's our entrepreneurs, whether it's our quality of life, and the poverty and the crime are statistics that you've got to know statistics to know what you need to improve upon and fix. And we actually will continue to roll out and work with programs that are going to try and move through that with a lot of different partners, and our local governments are going to have to help us with that as well. But it's public, it's PR, but there's truth to it, and it's a challenge. But thankfully, we're on the other side of that, which is the good news.
So, I was going to say, a question that comes up a lot is, why does the Chamber do the conference out of town? So maybe you want to touch on that, and then talk a little bit about this year's conference.
So a quick answer is because our members apparently like it out of town. We sell out, and early on we actually did hold it here, and nobody came. I mean, we held it out, I think we held it out at Golden Eagle, because it was one, and we had maybe 70 people show up, and then for half of the day. It's kind of one of those, you keep opening your doors for business because people keep coming in and saying they want it, and we sold out, our room block sold out, I think, already, and that's the earliest it's ever sold out. So believe me, our team would love to probably not do it. It's just a lot. But the testimonials of people that make great contacts, do business, I think it's the formula that works in our community, because our community is really about relationships, and also bring forward ideas and where our community needs to be going. I think it just happens to be just a great formula that's working for now.
Question. I think the Chamber had come out questioning the need for the Children's Services Council, and I know some other business groups have taken a similar position. Could you chat with us a little bit about that?
Mm-hmm. Our position on the Children's Services Council that was trying to move forward to be on the last election was that we were not opposed to a Children's Services Council. We could not support putting it on the ballot without an outlined plan for where the dollars raised by it would go. We have Mark O'Brien serving on the committee that's supposed to come back with a recommendation. I would expect it to come back on the 2020 ballot. And we'll probably have to take another position on it. But what we've done really well in this community was when we had a plan and said where the dollars were going to go, we were able to go out and implement. So blueprint twice, and even our half-penny sales tax for our schools twice, and the Chamber supported those. And we've had great conversations. Chambers of Commerce typically are not supportive of taxes. But in those cases, it was a plan that was going to take place that could be measured with what was going to come from it. And so that was our position with Children's Services. There was not a plan in place, and there was this dispute of, well, pass the tax and then they'll put a plan. And we just said, that's A, it'll probably fail at the ballot that way, and that it'll be 10 years before it can come back. B, it's not a lot of money when you think about it, and a lot of organizations that are in that space and without a plan, the sense was it was just going to be, and some communities had that where it was just 20, 30, 40 agencies that were getting a little bit of money that really wasn't moving the needle. So I would imagine, Marty, that we will visit that again once that committee comes back with a recommendation.